The Chicago Bears just sent a warning shot across the bow to a key starter. And what I love about this new Chicago Bears coaching staff, there's not a lot of fluff. There's veterans on the staff that are absolutely determined to do things the right way, and they do so without mincing words, without worrying about feelings. And new Chicago Bears running back coach, he's exactly like that. Eric Bieniemy got a reputation for being tough on his players, and that gets the most out of them. And now we sit here, before he's even had a chance to manage this Bears backfield in real time, he's already sending a message to the team's incumbent starter. Had a lot to say about starting running back DeAndre Swift. He sent a very clear message. If you're new to the channel, this is Sports Talk Bears. I'm Sean. I'm here to give you Bears news on the daily. Please bless me. Please bless us. Hit the subscribe button if you love the content, and so we can keep doing this. So let's get to what he had to say about our starter DeAndre Swift. Now, more than anything, we got to make sure that he understands that he can find 4.5 yards between the tackles, but also hit the home run when he needs to. And this is when Bieniemy was a guest on the Chicago Bears team podcast, Bears, etc. He's telling Swift to raise the bar, right? And to illustrate exactly what he's talking about, I mean, Swift wasn't a slouch. He did have over 1,300 total yards, but there were a lot of yards left on the field if you were watching. And even more telling, Swift averaged a career-low 3.8 yards per carry in his first season in Chicago, and he had only 4 runs gained more than 20 yards. I mean, all the bounce outs, they didn't really glean consistent results, did they? Something's got to change, right? And he seemed unwilling to hit the holes between the tackles. I mean, the eye test, constantly trying to just bounce outside. I mean, granted, he has home run ability, but there needs to be some substance there. There needs to be some meat and potatoes, if you will. Get the 4.5 and the homers, they will present themselves. So even more telling, Bieniemy has been out on the road scouting other top running back prospects as well. And let's back this up with a little bit of a comparison so you can really see exactly what DeAndre Swift is doing and what he should be doing. Let's go with the gold standard. Let's talk about Saquon Barkley. He had an absolutely crazy 433 attempts. Man, how's he going to hold up over that? But only out of those 400 plus carries, only 117 of them were outside the tackles. Now let's contrast that with Swift's 253 carries. I mean, a whopping 103 of those bounced out left and right. So these are some stats, but if you look at it, an almost 200 carry difference between these two players, but virtually the same amount of runs on the outside. Saquon, he simply took more of the tougher yards, took more of the gimme yards, the easy 4 to 5 yards behind the meat of the line. And speaking of meat, the Bears now have the line to facilitate this. Bieniemy, he's watched the tape. This is what he's going to demand. And looking back, Chicago inked Swift to a 3-year, $24 million contract. It was a big contract, and this was coming off a Pro Bowl year with the same team, the Philadelphia Eagles, the season prior. Now he has an offensive line. Swift will need to up his efficiency, right? He's got to provide the Bears with a reliable and feasible alternative to Williams and the passing game. Defenses have got to respect the running game for this scheme to run effectively. You saw what Ben ran in Detroit. Now, Saquon, even doing a lesser amount of bounce out runs, he wasn't lacking for home runs. Swift has to have that same mentality that these home run runs, baseball references, but these are going to happen organically, right? Now, I don't think Swift is going anywhere. I think he's still going to be wearing a Bears uniform this coming year. Bieniemy still did compliment his work ethic, so that's a good thing. But the fact that he felt the need to point this out so early, very telling on what he thinks about the Bears' running game last year. And if you look at Bieniemy, I mean, when he was in Washington, players were upset when he was the offensive coordinator that he was a little too tough on them. I'll argue that the Washington team at the time needed some discipline. Maybe they just needed new ownership. But I think Bieniemy is a huge blessing to this team. I think he's going to develop this running back room, and he's going to coordinate the running support. That's going to be the shoulders that this offense is going to be built on, right? So Looking at him, unless you've been under a rock, you know who Bieniemy is, but I'm going to refresh you. The guy was the OC with the Chiefs, winning 2 Super Bowls, and he moved up from running backs coach. He was always over the running game there. National championship in college, and now he's back to his main strength. What a get. You get someone of his stature to be the running backs coach. Old school dude. He's going to demand results, and the players are going to have to work hard. No babies here. And his assessment of the Bears' talent, it's really already begun, and we're seeing it in real time, right? So I think still we got to expect the Bears to draft a running back. It's just hard to see when. I mean, Ashton Jeanty, he's the cream of the crop. I'll recognize that. But if you look at Omari and Hampton, the guy's just a stud, and I don't think the distance between them is that big of a gulf. And then you're looking at Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State, just an absolute tank, a player that I think's a lot of fun, but he kind of runs like the water boy. Talking about Scadaboo out of Arizona, Caleb Johnson. I mean, there's at least 6 quality backs just off the top of my head in this draft. It's one of the best running back drafts that I can ever remember. And if you're thinking about from the Bears' perspective, they need a David Montgomery for this offense. You know, I wish they would have just kept David Montgomery and we wouldn't have to talk about this, but we need someone that's willing to grind out yards between the tackles. It's so necessary in a Ben Johnson offense. Then bounce it out when there's an opportunity. Better believe Swift is listening. He knows he's going to have to step this up because his new head coach, it's the same coach that jettisoned him out of Detroit once before and went with a different option and what you see on the Lions right now. So Johnson also really meaningful voice in the Lions' decision to trade Swift to Philly at the time, of course, and this was after 3 years in Detroit. So what did Detroit do? They replaced him with Jahmyr Gibbs and used the number 12 overall to pick him in 2023. Remember that. And you had a duo of Gibbs and David Montgomery. Detroit, I mean, you got to think they're the best, if not one of the best, one of the most effective rushing attacks in the league. And that really made quarterback Jared Goff's job simpler. It allowed him to thrive. And the Lions responded with winning back-to-back NFC North division titles in 23 and this last year. I mean, but it all started with the running game. It was fun to see the trick plays. It was fun to see the wide receivers getting yak yardage everywhere. But it started with that strong running game. And in order to have a strong running game, you need compliments. You need a dude that's willing to take the hard yards when they're in the middle of the line. So kind of speaking of the draft, right? Chicago, a lot of flexibility with this number 10 pick. Spent like crazy in free agency, lots of trades, added 2 offensive guards, a center, a defensive end, a defensive tackle. And now we're looking at the Bears could actually trade back, get more draft capital, move up if possible to get Ashton Jeanty. I wouldn't advise that, but there definitely is a situation that the Bears could move down, still get their guy if a guy like Omari and Hampton is their guy. So much stuff can happen here. And the latter option could just stay at number 10, select one of the other members of the running back class, such a deep class, and Eric Bieniemy. This is what he had to say about the current running game, and it's really just a really strong signal that the Bears are going to draft one, and probably early. We're also looking at a possible trade up for Jeanty. Once again, I would not advise that, but you're kind of looking at most draft analysts right now are pegging the Vegas Raiders at number 6 to take Jeanty, and I think also New England, Jacksonville at 4 and 5. Those would be the guys that would be open to a trade with the Bears, depending on how the draft shakes out in front of them. Once again, I wouldn't advise it. I don't think it's necessary. Do not trade up. But a funny side note, as long as we're talking about running back. Anyone remember Ian Wheeler? I mean, I forgot about him too, but listening to the Bears podcast of Eric Bieniemy, it sounds like he's a big fan of Wheeler as well. This is what he had to say about Ian Wheeler. He showed flashes. So we want to see exactly what all we can continue to develop with him and see how we grow, see how he grows. I mean, looking at a player that's going to be fully recovered from injury, a favorite on Hard Knocks. It was hard not to love the kid. And he might become a small piece of the puzzle here. Before it's all said and done, he might be significant. He definitely did show tons of flashes during the preseason. That injury was just really unfortunate. Totally pulling for that player specifically in camp and moving into the preseason after we get this draft out of the way. And I think we're in a really good spot. Once again, let's not trade up, but there is so much available here in this NFL draft at running back. And I think Eric Bieniemy, Ben Johnson, our GM, they're all going to work in tandem to find the right guy. And I think we finally got it right. Bear down, you guys. Let me know in the comments what you think, and we will talk tomorrow as usual. See ya.